everyone, and welcome back. Get ready to dive into something really fascinating today.
I'm excited.
It's one of those topics I think we all think about,
Yeah,
honoring God with our bodies.
absolutely.
But we're going deeper than just like
Right,
those quick tips we see all the time.
exactly.
And I'm really excited about this because I think a lot of times we kind of compartmentalize
Yes.
faith and health,
Yeah,
but they're really all connected.
they really are.
So we're going beyond just like food and fitness tips.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about the body as the temple of the Holy Spirit, which
Yes.
is something that
That's a big one.
I hear all the time, but I don't know if I really understand it.
It's easy to just kind of gloss over those things
Yeah.
and not really think about what it means practically for our lives.
So we're going to dig into that. And we're also going to talk about this idea of the soul,
Yes.
which feels kind
A
of,
little mysterious, right?
yeah, very mystical and maybe not something we think about every day.
No, but it's so important.
Yeah, and to have these conversations, we're going to be drawing from some really interesting excerpts that we've got for you all today.
It's amazing how much the Bible actually has to say about this.
I know, it's really cool. It's like we're uncovering these hidden gems.
Yeah, like this wisdom has been there all along.
Exactly.
We just need to open our eyes to it.
So let's jump right in. I think a good place to start is by addressing this idea that honoring God with our bodies is about so much more than just the physical.
Absolutely. It's so easy to get caught up in the outward appearance.
Oh, totally.
You know, like how we look,
Yeah.
what we weigh.
Yep.
But the Bible goes so much deeper than that.
Right.
It's about recognizing that our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit because I
Yeah.
feel like that's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot.
It does.
But what does it actually mean for like
Right.
my everyday life?
It's about recognizing the incredible gift that your body is.
Okay.
It's a vessel that's been entrusted to you by your Creator.
Okay, so it's not just
It's not just yours to
Right.
do whatever you want with.
right.
You've been given this incredible gift.
Wow.
And so how are you going to take care of it? How are you going to honor God with it?
I've never thought of it like that.
It really changes your perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
When you start to view your body as a temple,
Yeah.
a sacred dwelling place for the Holy Spirit.
So how does that connect to this idea of the soul that we were talking about earlier? Because that's where it starts to feel a little,
Right.
I don't know.
It's a little less tangible.
Yeah, a little bit less like something I can grasp.
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
Have you ever just felt this deep longing for something more?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a connection,
All the time.
a purpose.
Yeah.
That's your soul calling out.
Wow.
That's your soul yearning for God.
Okay, so that's what people mean when they talk about the soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
The soul is your innermost being.
Okay.
It's the essence of who you are.
So
And it's eternally connected to God.
is that like a separate thing for my body or is it?
It's both separate and connected at the same time.
Okay.
It's kind of a paradox.
This is already blowing my mind.
But think about it this way. Your body is the physical vessel,
Okay.
and your soul is the spiritual essence
Got it.
that inhabits that vessel.
Okay.
And they're intertwined.
Okay.
They impact each other.
So what I do with my body affects my soul.
Exactly. And what's going on in your soul affects your body.
Wow. I'm starting to see how this all connects.
It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
It's not just about what you eat or how much you exercise.
It's about the whole picture.
It's about honoring God with your entire being.
Mind, body, and soul.
Exactly.
This is already making me think about things differently. I like it.
That's what we're here for,
Yeah, to shake things up a little bit.
to challenge the way we think
Yeah,
about health and faith and how they intersect.
I'm into it.
Good, you too.
So where do we even begin with this whole honoring God with our bodies thing? Like, it's one thing to say it, but it's another to actually, like, live it out, you know?
It can feel overwhelming, right?
Totally. Especially with all the messages we're bombarded with these days. It's like, eat this, don't eat that, work out 5 days a week.
It's a lot. And it's easy to get caught up in trying to find the perfect diet or the ideal workout routine.
Oh, I've totally fallen into that trap
Hmm.
before. Like, I'll be super gung-ho for, like, a week, and then life happens.
Exactly. And I'm like, back to square one.
But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be about these huge, drastic changes. In fact, the Bible often encourages us to focus on the small, consistent things.
Yeah. Think about like the verse in Proverbs 20.21. It says, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. It doesn't say commit perfectly or like commit all at once, you know?
That's a good point. So it's more about the daily choices we make.
Exactly. It's about taking those small, faithful steps day after day, trusting that God will meet us where we are and work through those small things.
Okay, so instead of stressing about overhauling my entire life, it's about focusing on making small, sustainable changes.
You got it. Like maybe instead of trying to hit the gym for an hour every day, you aim for a 30-minute walk a few times a week.
Yeah, that feels a lot more doable.
Right. Or maybe it's about swapping out sugary drinks for water more often.
See, those are things I can actually get on board with.
And those small changes can make a big difference over time, not just in our physical health, but in our spiritual health too.
Oh, I like that. So how do those small changes, like what I'm eating or how much I'm moving, how does that connect to spiritual health?
Well, I think it goes back to this idea of our bodies being temples of the Holy Spirit,
Of
right?
course, yeah. Yeah.
When we make choices that nourish our bodies, when we're moving our bodies in ways that feel good, when we're getting enough rest, it allows us to be more present, more attuned to the Holy Spirit, more available to hear God's voice.
That's so true. I know when I'm feeling run down or unhealthy, it's so much harder for me to focus on my spiritual life.
Yeah, it's like our physical and spiritual health are totally intertwined.
They really are. And it's so easy to forget that. It's like we compartmentalize those areas of our lives, you know?
Totally.
Mm.
But when we start to see those areas as connected, as part of this holistic view of health, it changes everything.
Okay, so let's talk about food for a minute, because that's always a big one for me. I love to eat.
Who doesn't?
But I know that food can be such a source of temptation. Like I can easily find myself turning to food for comfort or to numb out my feelings.
Oh, I've been there. And the excerpts we're looking at today have a lot to say about food.
Like what?
Well, like Proverbs 23.133 talks about being mindful at the dinner table, not overindulging, practicing moderation.
Yeah, that's definitely something I could work on.
But I think there's another important aspect to this whole food thing.
Okay, what's that?
It's about understanding the why behind our food choices. Like you were saying, we often turn to food for comfort or to numb out our emotions.
A lot of time.
But what if instead of just reaching for that bag of chips or that pint of ice cream, we paused and asked ourselves, what am I really hungry for right now?
Whoa, okay, that's good.
Is it physical hunger or is it something deeper?
Like emotional hunger.
Exactly. Maybe it's stress or loneliness or boredom.
Wow, I've never really thought about it that way before. It's like I'm using food to fill a void that actually has nothing to do with food.
Exactly. And so often, those cravings are really a sign that we need to connect with God.
Okay, that makes sense. So instead of just focusing on the what of our food choices, we need to pay attention to the why.
Yes, it's about approaching food with intentionality, mindfulness, gratitude.
So instead of seeing food as the enemy, it's about viewing it as this gift.
Exactly. And a way to connect with God's goodness.
Okay, I can get behind that. It's like food can be this like sacred thing
It really can be.
when we approach it with that mindset.
Yeah, with intentionality and gratitude.
Yeah, not just like shoveling it in.
Mindlessly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about savoring each bite,
Yeah.
being present in the moment.
Yeah, being thankful for it.
Yeah, and recognizing God's provision.
Okay, so we've talked about food. We've talked about movement. This whole idea of the body is the temple.
Yeah.
What about this concept of the soul, though? Because I feel like that can still be kind of an elusive concept.
Right. It's a little bit more mysterious,
Yeah.
but it's so essential to understanding who we are
Okay.
and how God created us.
So how do we define the soul?
One of the excerpts we looked at actually had a really interesting take on it.
Okay.
It talked about how in some ancient Hebrew translations, the word for breath is the same word that's used for soul.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, isn't that fascinating?
That is fascinating.
And it points to this beautiful connection between our physical and spiritual selves.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about it.
Okay.
Our very breath, the breath of life that God breathed into us.
Right.
That's our soul.
Wow, so it's like this life force within us
Exactly.
that connects us to God.
Yes, and it's what animates us.
It's like what makes us truly alive.
Yes, and it's the part of us that yearns for God, that seeks after him,
Okay, that makes sense.
even if we don't always realize it.
So when we talk about honoring God with our bodies,
Yeah.
it's not just about like eating our vegetables and going for a run.
It's so much bigger than that.
It's about nurturing our souls
Yeah.
too.
Yes, it's about cultivating a deep and abiding relationship with God.
Because ultimately that's what will truly satisfy us.
Exactly. That's where we'll find true fulfillment and purpose.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
It's been a pleasure.
I feel like I'm seeing this whole idea of health and faith in a whole new light.
That's wonderful to hear.
So as we wrap up, is there like one final thought that you want to leave our listeners with?
Remember that this journey of honoring God with our bodies,
Yeah.
it's not about perfection.
Okay.
It's about progress.
I like that.
It's about taking those small, faithful steps each day
Mm-hmm.
and trusting that God will meet you where you are
So good.
and help you become the healthiest, holiest version of yourself,
Love it.
mind, body, and soul.
This was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of this wisdom with us.
It was my pleasure.
And thank you all for tuning in to this deep dive.
Yes.
Thank you. Remember to check back next time for more inspiring conversations.
We'll see you then.